My name is Louis van Tonder. I'm also known as Tiago, which was or is my Sesotho name given to me by the Basotho laborers on my father's farm, Wintershoek, which was located, which is located in the Orange Free State of South Africa. This is the farm that I grew up on. It was a fruit farm given to my mom and dad as a wedding gift. Oh, Tieho. Tieho means, without blowing smoke up my own chimney, means one we have waited a long time for. It is explained as follows. My mother carried me for 10 months and not the usual nine, hence the name of Tieho, one we have waited a long time for, given to me by the Basotho laborers on the farm that my mom and dad lived on. The farm was a wedding gift from my grandfather, of course, my mom's dad, to them as a wedding gift when they got married. In those days, well, when they got married, the farm was not yet a fruit farm. My father developed Wintershoek into the lucrative and productive fruit farm it eventually became. Now, to go back to my grandpa, he was a deeply religious man, and that sort of explains why he created an orphanage for, I think it was something like 200 kids, black children, who otherwise would never have had a roof over their head, food, or accommodation, shelter. Yes, of course, and that it was an orphanage cum school. But to a certain extent, I think there was a little bit of selfishness in that as well, in the sense that creating an orphanage for 200 children ensured that he had a good labor force to pick cherries when it was summertime. There was nothing wrong in those days. It wasn't seen as child labor. It was seen as a healthy way of children, orphans who would have no money for themselves or pocket money, just to get a little bit of income that they can buy whatever they needed. Uh, Now, where I grew up on Wintershoek, it was closer to a little station or siding called Gumtree than it was to Vicksburg. Vicksburg was 14 miles away, whereas Gumtree was only 5 miles away from us. Now, Gumtree was also the station where we would deliver our fruit to be marketed inland, Johannesburg, Durban, Pietermaritzburg, you name it. Anyhow, growing up on the farm, I had, well, in my early years, growing up on Wintershoek, I was one of the very lucky guys who had a wonderful nanny. Everybody had nannies, or children had nannies, or households may have had a nanny if they had a small child. But Emily was just a wonderful person as far as I can remember, or as I have been told. She was a nanny when I was just a little bit, a teeny little bit. But anyhow, I loved her, and I loved her anytime as much as I loved my own mom. Now, the other thing about Emily is she could not speak Afrikaans. She could only speak Sesotho. And speaking Sesotho to me, of course, that was the language that I was exposed to most of the day. So it naturally followed that it was the first language that I learned to speak. Of course, much to the dismay of my mother, I started calling her Mrs. because I heard everybody calling my mom Mrs. But the laborers pronounced it Mrs. So I called her Mrs. instead of mom or mother. And that was not very much appreciated.
What did you call Emily? What was your name for her?
Emily, Emily was too difficult for me to say. So obviously, I had a abbreviation of it or a term of endearment, and I called her Mimi. So for me, Emily was Mimi. My parents called her Emily, of course, but me, she was Mimi, my Mimi. Ah,
You say she carried you everywhere through all her labors on the
yeah.
farm.
Mimi had me on her tied in a little woolen blanket and carried me on her back. And I was there, sunrise to sunset, basically. I slept there, I sat there, unless she had something else to do that she had to take me off her back. But otherwise, the whole day, when she was looking after me, I was on her back.
So from the
Either,
time you were born to when you were running around, Mimi was like the mom in your life in a way.
yeah, she was a second mom to me because that's I was just in her company all the time. And of course, being spoken to in the Sotho language. Ay, 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 ay. That makes me think back. You know, in those days, we still had those old hand crank phones where you would crank the phone, pick it up, and you'll be connected to the exchange operator, and you would ask for a certain number that you would have her ring so that you can talk to whoever lived at that specific number. Now I know ours was Gumtree 940. Our phone number was Gumtree 940. It meant that it was on the 9 line. Our phone number was on the 9 line, and the 40 mean four short rings. The zero means no long rings. Like Innes's number was Vicksburg 2612. So you would dial or crank the handle, ask the exchange operator to connect you to 2612. And of course, it was in fact the 26 line 2612. One meaning one short ring and two long rings for depicting 1 2 on the 26 line.
So just to clarify, did everybody's phone ring? And if it rang that particular,
Yeah. If that phone ring, everybody on that particular line, their phone rang as well. That's why you had so many people listening in to other people's conversations. And so often, you know, people would forget that you can hear somebody was listening in because you could hear them breathing, or you would hear background noises of a dog barking or something like that.
so you had to be very careful when you said on the phone.
Oh yeah, no, I remember one time there was a case. People were always suspecting so and so and so of listening in, and you know it was just because she was so damn inquisitive. And apparently, that is now being told as being the truth. Two ladies were having a conversation, and of course, they suspected that Mrs. X was listening into on the conversation. And one of the ladies said, "Oh, by the way, did you hear the shocking news?" "What shocking news?" "Oh, no, Mrs. So and so has died." And that's when Mrs. So and so says, "That's not true." Then she realized the error of her ways and hung up. Yeah. Now let's go back to my youth years, my childhood days on Wintershoek. I had a little Shetland pony, and his name was Blocky. Blocky meaning stocky. You know, he was a stocky little horse with the, hence the Afrikaans name Blocky. Now that little bugger was as stubborn as only a Shetland pony can be. He could, first of all, open any gate. There's no ways you could tie the gate with wire or whatever the case may be. He will open it. And I'm pretty damn sure even if you lock the gate with a combination lock, he will still be able to open it. Because he opened any damn lock if he wanted to go in any particular camp or paddock or even on the neighbor's farm. There was nothing funny to have somebody call us, one of the neighbors, say, "Hey, Block is here, come and fetch him." Of course, I was the only one that could catch him. And so my dad would drive me over to wherever, and I had to go and catch Blocky and put the bridle on him and, and ride him back home. Yeah.
So you used to ride Loki to school, which was what, 5 miles away?
Yeah, no, I'll get to that. But now, okay. But let's talk about my daily activities. I had 4 friends, besides Ines, the next door neighbor, who was 2 years older than I was. I had 4 friends who were children of the laborers, the Basotho laborers. And we were in each other's company, I could say, nearly 24/7. Because in the morning early, of course, they would come up to the house or to the ranch house. And the first thing my mom will do, or one of the kitchen staff, is to give us breakfast. Now, breakfast consisted of a cornmeal porridge uh, with milk and sugar. And we'd sit around the porch of the, I don't know what the word for a spence is. Let's just call it the meat processing room or an outdoor kitchen. Maybe that's a better word for it. And we would sit on the steps and whatever, and we would have a bowl, an enamel bowl that would have enough porridge in it for 4 little boys, but we only got 1 spoon. But that was not a problem. So, I'll take a bite, hand it to Papi, so he'll take a bite, hand it to Puleng, he'll take a bite, and hand it to Antoni. And so we went around, everybody got a bite until the bowl was empty and everybody's belly was nice and full.
Did your mom have the insight to know that 1 spoon would make it more equal for everybody, do you think?
I don't know what she did there. Well, just a spoon, go eat.
Or was she afraid of losing her spoons?
No, it was just here's a spoon, go eat. Maybe it was just maybe she thought they already had some bacon. I mean some breakfast before they came down here, and it was just a spoon for me. But anyhow, it was the 4 of us, and we finished that with
Except she did it frequently every day.
every day. And of course, eventually, my father and she must have had a conversation and joked about it, because I would take a bite and Papi so would take a bite. Then Puleng would take a bite and Antoni would take a bite. And so the spoon went around and around and around and around until the bowl was finished. Now, every morning when I went out with my little buddies, my Pekingese, I called them my Pekingese. They were my friends. They were Pickaninny was not a derogatory term in those days. Pickaninny was a name for a small child, whether he was black, brown, pink, or green. Pickaninny is a small child. End of the story. And every morning when we left to go and play, after we had our breakfast, the last words that I would hear from my mother every day was, "Watch out for the dams, the bulls, and the snakes." Okay, there are dams. We couldn't swim. Yes, there were Jersey bulls because we had Jersey cows. And yes, there were snakes. A lot of them. I remember one day clearly we were taking out finch eggs down in the meadow, and yeah, it was Puppy. So he climbed up the tree to get to some finch nests, and the branch snapped. Puppy must have fallen probably about 20 feet, which is damn high, for a 5-year-old kid or a 4-year-old kid. But luckily for him, there was some water below the tree. So when water and reeds and whatever, and as Papiso fell, luckily landing what we can call a reasonable soft landing, but he also fell on a snake, a cobra snake. And the next minute you just see this cobra darting out of there, which was a miracle by itself that it did not bite Papiso. Papiso did not break his arm or worse, his neck or whatever, but there was a snake in Papiso's eyes is just as big. And so, of course, so the other bystanders looking what just had occurred here. So yeah, that's a watch out for the dams, the bulls, and the snakes. The bulls, as I said, we had a small dairy, so which we milked for the house as well. The house or the ranch house had milk, but the milk was also shared amongst the laborers for their individual households. And where was I heading with this?
Cow
Oh, with the cows that we had and the bulls. Now, let's first get back to the Jersey with the bulls, why my mom said, watch out for the dams, the bulls, and the snakes. One particular bull, my dad raised that damn thing as a calf. But he was just so that he was starting to get useful and earning his keep, meaning to doing what a bull is supposed to do. He did something else that he was not supposed to do. He's supposed to sire calves, and for some reason he turned around and gaffed my father, threw him into the air. As my dad came down, he threw him into the air. That happened 2-3 times that he threw him into the air, and of course I did not see it happening. I just heard the yelling and the screaming. I was by the silage heap. And my father got seriously injured because this bull was not properly, it has not even yet been dehorned. He had probably horns 7-8 inches long. But what happened was, as he gaffed my father, he did some serious injury to my father's groin, in the sense that his testes and his testicles were just torn out of his groin, and is seriously injured. And my mom had to take him to the Vicksburg hospital, which was 13-14 miles away. And apparently that must have been a very, very painful ride for my dad. But he came back the same day and he healed up pretty good. But what I did notice afterwards, whenever my father walked in the company of where that damn stubborn little bull was, he would have a walking stick with him. By walking stick mean I meant the bloody 1.5 inch galvanized pipe. So if that bull came for him again, that bull would have known what's coming, what's heading his way in return. Yeah, so we remember these things. I got to tell you this story. Now, it was a very favorite pastime of ours, a popular pastime of ours. We were always in the field, always in the field, no matter what. If we're not swimming on top of the mountain, the sandstone pools, we were collecting birds' eggs or whatever. And one day, my sister Ida, who was 2 years younger than I, she wanted to come with. And that was really, it's, I don't know why she wanted to come with. She was just bloody silly. But because for me, it was. There was a ball and chain around my neck, and now I have to worry about her safety wherever we're going or whatever. And I didn't like it. On the way, eventually she cried, and my mother said, take her with you. Okay, take her with me. And when we were about a good distance, probably a half a mile to a mile away from the house, I said, okay, you can come with us on one condition. If there are eggs in the nest that you happen to investigate or check out, if there are eggs, fine, take them. If there are little chicks in those nests, you have to wring their necks. She was, why? Why? I said, because, which is, of course, utter nonsense. I told her that if the mom bird smelt a human's scent on the little chicks, they will abandon them and kick them out of the nest, and the little chicks will die. Yeah. She wrung their necks, crying, 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 but she wrung their necks. And we got home. Of course, she went straight to my mother or my father and told them what I had forced her to do. Boy, did I know about it. I know I got a good damn spanking with that platrim that I had that was supposed to raise me. Now, that platrim was a belt or a strap attached to a handle, I would say a cane stick handle, just so that you can do a damn good spanking and get some good swing out of that thing if you needed to raise the child. And of course, I was being told that this thing, we have that because it has to help raise me and help to raise me, and I did not understand what that meant. So one day I decided to, this thing is, I can grow up without it. So I went and I threw it in the cement dam. I stole it, where my father was always hiding it or where he had it in his closet. I took it and I put it and I threw it in the. I took it and threw it in the cement dam. I never told anybody what happened to the platrim again. Yeah, platrim translates to a flat thong, a belt. Excuse me, I got a cough, but
I suspect that didn't stop your spanking.
no, of course not. Now the other thing is, are you typing?
Yeah, I am. I just was trying to get your knee out of there.
Huh?